Senator Leila de Lima and another Filipino lawmaker, Geraldine Roman, are among this year's leading global thinkers of the international magazine Foreign Policy. The magazine said de Lima stood up against an extremist leader, referring to President Duterte and his alleged brutal drug war. It also said de Lima remained steadfast to the rule of law, despite accusations against her. Foreign Policy also commends Bataan Representative Geraldine Roman, the first transgender politician in the Philippine Congress. The magazine said Roman redefined fitness to govern. It also recognized the lawmaker's advocacy to fight prejudice that extends beyond gender. Other personalities on the list are former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Congratulations, you have been receiving awards one after the other. Let me name them for some who might have missed it. One is you're part of the 100 Global Thinkers of 2016. You were part of also People Asia magazine's Women of Style and Substance, and Motto List, Times Motto List, Women of 2016 as well.
Yes, Inspiring Women of 2016. Well, you know, I don't count these awards. They just come, and I'm thankful, really. It's a great honor, but at the same time, it's pressure for me to deliver on my promises. You know, when you have a lot of people who recognize you and look up to you, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah, can you imagine what it was like? I mean, I'm going to go back a little bit to your family. Your family has been in politics. You actually took over your mom's position. But it's a nice story that I'd like to share. Maybe it's better that you share it. That your dad once upon a time dreamt that a Geraldine Roman would speak in Congress.
He did. This was way back in October 2013, shortly before the barangay elections. At that time, I had already made the decision to take the place of my mom once her term expires. So as we were meeting, my father called me out of that meeting with the barangay captains, and he told me that he dreamt, you know, that I was delivering my first privileged speech. And I asked him, "Is that true, Daddy?" You know, I had this suspicion, you know, that he was just trying to project his desire, you know, his wishes. And he told me yes. And then well, basically the speech that I was supposedly delivering in his dream was about, well, asking my colleagues in Congress to respect me as a human being and to look beyond the gender and look at what I had to offer as a congresswoman.
And that your dad was something that your dad really saw, because it happened to you when you gave your first, was it your first privileged speech in Congress on the anti-discrimination bill?
The only difference is that I did not have to appeal to my colleagues for respect, because the minute I entered in Congress, they welcomed me with open arms, and everything has been smooth sailing so far. They have treated me as an equal. They have shown me their love and concern, and I feel very much welcomed.
There was no discrimination at all when you entered the halls of Congress?
At least openly. But you can tell if people are trying to pretend to be politically correct or just being civil to you. But I have felt their sincerity and their genuine concern.
You know, you broke barriers, you made history by being the first transgender woman to enter politics, and really, you have a number of bills, but the center of it all, a lot of people are talking about this anti-discrimination bill, or what you have changed to what we call the SOGI Equality Bill.
That's right, Pinky. Well, the proponents of this bill have decided to change the name from Anti-Discrimination Bill based on sexual orientation and gender identity expression to something shorter and more positive. Now we call it the SOGI Equality Bill.
What do you seek to see once this bill is passed? What can all genders what is the effect on all genders of the SOGI bill?
Well, basically it seeks to identify the different situations that would constitute discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. Situations in the workplace, in government, in the delivery of basic services, and also in access to public and commercial establishments. We cannot deny the fact that there are many people who are unable to study, or to pursue a career or to find a job because they happen to be members of the LGBT community. And that is a very unfair situation that we have to fight against.
What would be the consequences of somebody who would violate this OG equality bill?
Well, there are penalties, fines ranging from 100,000 pesos to 500,000 pesos, and prison terms of up to 6 months.
What would be the biggest discrimination against the LGBTQ community?
I would say that, for example, well, there are many situations, but to actually pinpoint which is the worst case would be difficult. I would say that, you know, everyone needs to find a living, you know, earn a living. And if you deny a person access to work, simply because that person happens to be transgender or gay or lesbian, for me that is, you know, condemning a person to misery and marginalizing that person, because without work, how can you possibly afford to live or to
survive.
eat and survive, basically?
You are getting a lot of support from the members of Congress.
Yeah, surprisingly, and because this bill has been you know, languishing in Congress for the past 17 years. And all of a sudden, we have nearly 150 congressmen and congresswomen who have signed as co-authors of the bill.
And it passed on the committee level, I believe, last week, and it's set to go to the rules and in the plenary. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so we discussed the bill provision by provision. We voted in some, we voted on some amendments. We've eliminated some provisions, and finally the final version was approved on the committee level. Now it has to go to a technical working group in the Rules Committee, and then that group will refer it to deliberations on the floor. Well, first and foremost, this is going to be a landmark bill, because for the first time in the history of Philippine legislation, we actually will have a law that will make reference to the phenomenon of LGBT. In no other law can you find a direct reference to lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgenders. There are vague references to sexual orientation, but without going into specifics. I think we have to face up to the fact that there are people who are male or female, but have different sexual orientations and gender identities, and they are lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgenders. It is also going to be landmark because for the first time we are going to typify certain behavior as criminal and illegal, and these are behaviors that constitute discrimination. What we are doing basically is sending a message to society that it is not okay to discriminate against other human beings and fellow citizens of our country simply because they happen to be lesbian, gay, bisexuals, and transgender.
When do you think this bill will be passed?
We're trying to target it before, you know, March, maybe February.
It will be passed in Congress. That's the target.
Well, that is the target, and of course, if once it is passed in Congress, the ball is on the side of the Senate's court.
Who is your counterpart in the Senate?
We have several, primarily Senator Recieves, who is an equality champ.
Yes.
By the way, we coined this term, #equality champ, for all those lawmakers who have actually co-authored the bill.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a very apt and fitting tag, you know, because what we are fighting for is basically equality.
Also are concerned about the plight of fishermen and farmers at that.
At present, I'm in the process of holding consultative meetings with the farmer and fishermen in Bataan. And the idea that I want to promote basically among our farmers and fishermen is the idea that their farming and fishing are legitimate businesses that you can actually grow given the proper support from the government and given the proper training. So I am coordinating with the staff of Senators Kiko Pangilinan and Senator Bam Aquino the idea of agripreneur. I'm sure you must be familiar with this. Agripreneurs, and in 2017 we're going to bring this idea and introduce it and present it to the farmers of Bataan.
All right, that also sounds very interesting. said earlier, the Congresswoman is not just looking into the SOGI equality bill, but you also have this National Scholarship Agency bill.
That's right. You know what? For the longest time, I've been wondering, Pinky, if a student who is deserving but is underprivileged wants to avail of a scholarship, where does that student go?
Yeah.
Does he go or she go to the CHED, the DepEd, the DSWD? Does that person have to go to...
confuses them.
Yes. Does that person have to go to their mayor or their congressman or congresswoman or the governor? So I was thinking, we say that education is a basic right in our country. But at present, we do give away scholarships from the government through different agencies and through LGUs and through congressmen and congresswomen. But it is an interagency endeavor. And when you have an interagency endeavor, you never get your act right. Because each agency has its own priority. And it will spend its budget according to its priorities. So I was thinking we should create an agency that will actually focus on processing these scholarships. This agency will identify who are qualified, who are not, and then it will just coordinate everything. Scholarships for primary, secondary, tertiary, postgraduate, foreign grants and scholarship loans. And according to the bill I filed, I want to create this agency under the Office of the President.
So it's not going to be under the Department of Education, not under the CHED, it's going to be under the Office of the President. I'm actually glad, to be frank, to hear this from you, because it gets very difficult for people, students at that, who want to actually study. They really don't know who or where to go to.
Exactly.
Parang, actually, sometimes when you think about it, Congresswoman, ang dami mong pwedeng puntahan, but because iba-iba din siguro yung rules nila.
Yes.
So at least now, it's one agency that will look into this.
Yes, if the bill is passed, we're going to create a new agency with its sole mandate of processing these scholarships. Theoretically, there is a law already, which is called the UNIFAST law, which was authored by former Congressman Roman Romulo. You know?
I see, yes.
Yes, but by the name itself, it's kind of confusing. It only attends to the tertiary level.
Yeah, yeah. So where is this bill in Congress right now?
It hasn't been heard yet at the committee level, but it has already been referred to the Committee on Education.
Well, good luck on that. That would be very helpful to a number of people, number of Filipinos who really, if we end up seeing students not having a difficult time trying to apply for free education and scholarship, that would be a big boost.
Oh yes, and you know what? By the name itself, it's so obvious. National Scholarship Agency. I don't think anyone will be confused.
Yeah, no one will mistake that for anything else. But also very